Greetings, folks. Thanks for joining me. In these videos, we're talking about the nature of the times. My name is Timothy Halloran. I'm reporting from the Hard Times Trail, Asheville, North Carolina. Actually, this next week, I'm moving just east to Black Mountain. Very exciting times, a tremendous period of change. We're about to enter our forthcoming eclipse season in just a couple weeks. Eclipses always bring this exciting period, unpredictable period of shifting and change. And not only that, we're in a tremendous retrograde period of year where we see Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto all retrograde. Soon Mercury stationing retrograde, followed by Neptune. So some key retrograde terms are words: review, rewind, revolutionize. There is this introverting, this questioning, and again, so much excitement going on out there in the world, especially this year of 2020, which from the very start, we've been calling this year a bit of a mini dark age, as well as this global economic reboot, revolution, and reprioritization. So let's talk about where we find ourselves in time these days. Now, Venus retrograde is conjoining the Sun, coming up in a few days on June 3rd. When Venus retrograde conjoins the Sun, this is the beginning of a new Venus cycle. This is where we are going inside. We're hitting this reset button. There's a tremendous inner exploration and a resetting of fundamental values. This pausing to evaluate and recourse our relationships. So when Venus is going retrograde, in the ancient times, this was compared to Inanna's, Venus's descent into the underworld. And there is this being stripped naked, being stripped to our raw essence, and removing all of the clutter, all of the distractions to really reset in our hearts what are our true values, what are our true desires. And this certainly also plays out in relationships as well. Now, coincidentally, we saw the partnership asteroid Juno just stationed direct in Libra, a sign that has so much to do with relationships, heart, Venus. And that asteroid Juno just stationed direct at 6 degrees Libra, opposite to Chiron. So there's this theme of also healing through the mirror of the other and receiving these reflections in our personal relationships, which can be waking us up to more of what we value. And part of this wake up may be through a sense of lack, like we could really use this sense of connection, or in our environment, or in our job, or in terms of money. Venus is energy exchange, all of the above: money, resources, people. And so there's this healing through the mirror, the reflection of the other. We are pausing and seeing how our relationships and our exchanges are going. And there's this opportunity to somewhat recalibrate so we are aligned with our values. Now, there's also this theme of creating a space to be free, Chiron in Aries, so we can stand up and honor our true values. This Juno in Libra, stationing direct opposite to Chiron in Aries, has a standing up and a fighting for what's right dynamic. Chiron in Aries, which Chiron's in Aries from 2019 through 2026, is one of those astrological indicators of this highly revolutionary time that we are just entering right now. Again, we are just entering this revolutionary time that has yet to truly begin. And yet we have these indicators. We have the retrograde signature, which is a Uranian dynamic, a revolutionary dynamic. We'll speak to the full moon coming up this week in Sagittarius on Uranus's south node. So there's this revolutionary theme that's here. And Chiron in Aries has this protesting revolution, standing up for a cause. The last time Chiron entered Aries, and Chiron has a roughly 50-year orbit, so 50 years ago, was MLK and the MLK assassination. So we are in a similar wavelength of time. There is this reflecting on and repeating some of these old themes. And again, there's this theme of standing up here and fighting for justice, Libra, balance, harmony, equality. Opposite to Chiron in Aries, which is the warrior, the freedom fighter, the trailblazer, and the initiator. Not only that, we see asteroid Ceres has been joined to Mars this last week and now. And this Mars-Ceres signature has to do with this protective caring, this defensive caring, right? Mars, the ruler of Aries, is the warrior, is the protector. So again, Chiron in Aries is initiating all of us into this strength, this confidence to stand up for what is right, which, by the way, is going to be different for each and every individual. And that's a really important point to highlight, that we do not all need to be fighting for the same things. And if we were all fighting for the same things, that would probably be more detrimental than if we were aligning with what work we can do. Aries is the individual. This is standing up and fighting for what we feel is right. And as we'll mention, as we're coming into this next eclipse season with the moon's nodes in the Gemini-Sagittarius polarity, we are entering an incredibly politically intense climate. And we're not likely to see a whole bunch of agreeability anytime too soon. I find it interesting that we're seeing the Ceres-Mars conjunction in Pisces during all of this revolutionary activity going on in our world. Asteroid Ceres was discovered at the very beginning of the 1800s, I believe 1801, and Ceres, the mother asteroid, which is again this caring, nurturing, empathetic principle, and her discovery roughly 2 centuries ago is correlated with the ending of slavery, as well as the ending of prejudice against women. So Ceres, Pallas Athena, Vesta, these initial asteroid goddesses to be discovered has so much to do with the returning of this divine feminine principle of empathy, caring. And again, the Ceres-Mars conjunction in Pisces going on this last week has to do with this defensive, protective caring, especially in the sign of Pisces, this collective movement, this being a standing up for the whole of humanity. And there's also a tremendously ideological signature with all of this activity going on in mutable signs. That's Gemini, Sag, Virgo, Pisces polarity. Now tomorrow, June 2nd, Venus retrograde squares Mars. And again, Venus conjoins the Sun on June 3rd, also square to Mars, the Sun, and a loose square to Ceres. There is this bottom line theme at this time of searching for purpose. What is the purpose of our life? What's the purpose of this experience? How can we embrace this experience of life that we're having now? And how can we embrace this experience of life by having a purpose behind it? And this purpose is so important, so critical at this time that we're finding this purpose. And it may not be obvious to us right now. It may not be served to us on a silver platter. Indeed, there can be this existential questioning or even this existential aimlessness or loss or void, like, what is the point to life? What is the purpose to life? But I would say that these are okay questions to be asking because they can be leading us into discovering that purpose rather than leading us into a nihilistic, nothing matters, well, we might as well just go off the deep end. Folks, we have to watch for that dynamic, going off the deep end, going off into escapism, joining the cults, going off into fantasy realms, believing in imaginary, ideas or beings or dimensions or conspiracies in order to avoid what's right in front of us, in order to avoid reality. As soon as the moon's nodes entered that Gemini-Sag polarity at the beginning of May, those moon's nodes are square to Neptune and will remain square to Neptune through this next year. There is therefore this dynamic of needing to find a fulfilling purpose, one that anchors us in our heart, that gives us a sense of meaning that energizes and inspires our relationships with others and the world, as opposed to going off the deep end or escapism or joining the cult that is completely disassociated from reality, in which case we can really lose that connection. And again, there is even this propensity to kind of, lose our minds. There is a collective psychosis signature with that Neptune square the nodes. And it's no coincidence that this is happening with this global pandemic of coronavirus, because it's no different than when we go through a severe crisis or a severe death. There are stages of grief. There's anger, there's denial, there's bartering, and we are observing very clearly these different ways of coping with this global crisis, this global pandemic. Not that this pandemic is the worst thing that's happening. There are many, many other challenges in our world. As I've been saying since the beginning of this year, the real opportunity of 2020 is to address this societal oppression, to change the societal oppression that has been creating this systemic hierarchies of control and power. This is what we have the opportunity to change. We're just entering this highly political, revolutionary years to come, likely a decade to come. So here we go. It's an exciting time, and we all get to participate in some way. So this Venus squaring Mars tomorrow, this is a first quarter square. And this exploration of purpose is, where do we as individuals, first quarter square, fit into the collective situation? Mars joining Neptune in Pisces, and Mars is coming up to that Neptune in Pisces all these next weeks until June 13th. So again, there's this, how are we aligning our energy, our purpose, our activity? What are we standing up for? And this first quarter Venus square to Mars, it's like, how can we as individuals or our small groups or our friends, our peers, our families, our local units, what are we standing up for? How can we answer the call of our world? So again, there is this soul-searching period with Mars conjoining Neptune. The challenging of this dynamic can be a sense of aimlessness or lethargy or a lack of energy. But I would invite us to be exploring our energy levels, our own energetic dynamics. If we're feeling lethargic, if we're feeling exhausted, why? What's sapping us? What's draining us? What's distracting us from what is bringing motivation, focus, a purpose for living? Because this period of time serves to wake us up, to give us that energy and direction. But again, it's such a confusing, unstable, uncertain time. We're having to do this research. We're having to really explore and discover what may be our own passion, our own interests that we may be able to offer as a service back to the world. Today, asteroid Vesta. And again, these goddess asteroids have so much to do with this divine feminine wisdom. Asteroid Vesta is a asteroid of focus, service, devotion, healing, commitment. Is exactly joined the moon's north node at the last degree of Gemini today, and then Vesta enters Cancer. There's this capacity to really find what is that inner flame. What are those ideas? Who are those people that we can stand behind, that we can get behind, that we can participate with, in some way that's providing this educational, caring provision. And we can commit and focus and devote ourselves because we're passionate about it, because it's aligned with our soul's journey and our individuality. This is not a time where we all have to be on the same page. This is not even a time where we have to believe the same things. But what we believe and who we are as individuals can shape what our service is back to the world that can bring healing, benefit, charity to others, even if we're not all of the same religious belief system, or if we all are on the same philosophical team. That is not where the healing and the transformation is happening productively. That is where there is a rather destructive propensity to get lost in crusadum, condemning, converting, to try and bring people to our same exact page in terms of what we think or what we believe, and that endeavor is typically self-destructive and harmful. So that's something to be very, very aware of, is we're standing up for what we can offer as individuals, and everybody has a unique voice. As soon as the moon's nodes enter this Gemini-Sag polarity, it's like the Tower of Babel. Everyone speaks their own language. If I were to say one thing and try to be as objective and clear-minded as I possibly can say something, there will still be a multiplicity of different interpretations based off of what different people believe, what they've experienced in the past, what languages they have developed, what we have assigned specific words to mean. And so it's very, very tricky and oftentimes even counterproductive to try and take a message on YouTube like I'm doing right now. I have to admit, I haven't really wanted to put my face out on YouTube considering what's going on out there in the world and the astrology. I have to be very, very careful and very, very forward that I'm encouraging everyone to find their truth. And I'm not impressing my truth or my philosophy onto anyone, and I've tried to be careful about this, but again, it's such a reactive time, and there's so much anger, and there's so much upset emotions that, I mean, we're probably going to just see some of these reactions stepping on toes, and what I encourage us to do is not to get overly involved. This is something that's really challenging for me personally as a Gemini, is somebody disagrees with me, they say, hey, Tim, you said this thing, and you meant this, and you meant that. And I say, no, that's not what I said, and that's not what I meant, and this is what I was trying to say. And then they say, oh, well, you meant this, and you meant that. No, I didn't mean that. It is pointless to enter these debates where someone is defensive or not listening or in that phase of denial, avoiding reality because they're processing some pain or some trauma. So what I actually encourage is don't enter these debates. Don't get lost on social media. These online civil wars and these debating is such a drain of all of this energy that we could be using in much more productive ways. So this whole Venus retrograde period is to connect us with like minds. Those who get us, those we can speak to, those who speak our language, and it's not forcing a square peg through a round hole. I even have said in the past, hey, if you don't like what I'm saying, I'm not like a government overlord or a dictator. You choose to watch these videos, and you can choose to stop these videos at any point if you want to. And even when I've said that in the past, people get on all my platforms and, criticize me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Oh, yeah, you're going to try to get me to watch something else? Well, here I come, and I'm protesting your channel. And it's just like, really? Make your own YouTube channel. Speak your own truth. Put your own ideas out there. Create your own group. Create your own school. Teach your own lessons. You're a brilliant person. Share your own brilliance. But we can't do this with everybody. We cannot be everybody's best friend. And to try to be everyone's best friend or to try to be understood by everyone will simply lead to confirmation or self-sacrifice. There is no one-size-fits-all in life. Mars coming up to Neptune again throughout June, there's this opportunity to explore, discover, and align what fulfills us, what gives us a purpose, what gives us a sense for living by being filled by the sense that we're connected to something bigger than just ourself. And that's the real purpose behind religion, behind cults, behind groups, behind humanitarian movements. We're doing something productive, and it gives us a meaning. It gives us a sense of fulfillment. And this is actually what provides the greatest fulfillment there is to experience in life, when we find our service back to the whole that honors our unique nature. And that's why there's no one size fits all. That's why we can't all join the same club or the same religion, is because those religions and clubs oftentimes become biased, honor only a particular type of person or a particular type of nature. And that's when it's important for us to leave that cult-like environment or that cult-like mental expectation. We have a full moon in Sagittarius on Uranus's south node, square to that Mars. Very, very reactive, violent, crusade type of full moon. Now, the opportunity here is to push into an expansion, an exploration, and an illumination of what is the truth. Again, what can we stand up for? That south node of Uranus is the revolutionary. Let's break free into Uranus, the future. Let's liberate ourselves from the limitations of the past and break dimensional barriers and boundaries to initiate new possibilities. That's Uranus. Uranus also correlated with trauma, unexpected, shocking shifts, breakdown of consciousness. So this highly restless, reactory, revolutionary energy must be harnessed in an innovative, constructive, forward-looking way. We are building something together because this same energy can provoke trauma, fragmentation, separation, divisionism, this type of political civil warness where we find ourselves divided, brother between brother, sister between sister. So again, this is an opportunity for us to Mars, Neptune, speak our dreams. I mentioned that this last Chiron orbit ago was the assassination of MLK and how Martin Luther King was such an effective revolutionary. And what was MLK's most famous speech? I have a dream. Think about the energy, the nature, the tone of I have a dream and why it was so effective, why it was so powerful. I have a dream is this Mars-Neptune conjunction. And this full moon in Sagittarius, square to that Mars, means that we can honor our dream. We can stand up in that type of civil, constructive, and yet inspirational type of way. And that does not mean agreeing with the status quo. That does not say that our world, our government, and society is okay. No, we are addressing societal oppression. We're addressing racism, which has been an ongoing problem for centuries and continues to be an ongoing problem. We're addressing patriarchy, these societal setups that have been long outstanding for thousands and thousands of years. This full moon on the south node of Uranus can be an illumination of objective truth, what's really going on out there in the world. This is also highlighting this incredibly political period. There's a tremendous ideological clashing. And again, we need to watch out for the crusadum, the exaggeration, the projection, and the blame. The moon's south node's in Sagittarius now. This full moon in Sagittarius is illuminating negative propensities that we need to watch out for. We all need to watch out for the shadow of Sagittarius these next 17 months. The shadow of Sagittarius can be over-assumptiveness. I know what the situation is. I know how they are. Oh, that's a good guy and that's a bad guy and that guy deserves punishment because they're bad. This type of, I know what the truth is. I've been bestowed. I know everything. As well as this over-moralism like, they screwed up because they chose evil, and they're a racist bigot because they chose evil. And, there is bigotry and there is racism, but there are much more complex and real reasons why this phenomenon exists. And in order to therefore fix these problems, we can't assign superficial blame. They're a bad guy. Oh, it's because they just want to hate everybody. No, we have to address the actual dynamics, which is going to lead us into an exploration of human psyche, consciousness, religious programming, cultural, traditional, generational carryover, etc. Those are the dynamics. That's what we should be talking about. That's what we should be addressing. We need to address this cult-like, everybody has to be a part of my group or they're a part of the problem. Shadow Sagittarius. This is very, very common out there in spiritual New Age movements, particularly in religions, right? There's always this sense, well, if you're not a part of my religion, or if you're not a part of the cult, or if you're not another astrologer, can I really trust you? You're going to drag me down into your atheistic philosophy or your non-love and light philosophy, and well, we are only love and light, right? That is cult-like philosophy. And cult-like philosophy encourages us to disassociate from reality, which is a real propensity. There's plenty of people that will be disassociating into reality. And one of the common ways people can do this is through that love and light cop-out. Oh no, love everybody. Oh no, be nice to everybody. Everybody has a heart. Everybody deserves love. And so, Timothy, when you're making a video, make sure that, you're allowing everybody to just believe whatever they want to believe and do whatever they want to do. And that's horseshit. That's total insanity. We need discretion. We need to use our minds. We need judgment. Judgment is discernment. These types of people are really unhealthy. They're encouraging me to go off the deep end. They're encouraging me into this type of naive passivity, like we should just sit to the side and do absolutely nothing because that's what a spiritual person does. When there are opportunities being given to us by life, this is something that you can address. This is something that you can talk about. And when we start to address and talk about our life, there's people that understand us. There's people that do not. There's people who agree with us. There's people that do not. And if we're going to simply sacrifice into being understood by everyone, we give up our humanity. We give up our individuality. We do not need to be love and light and everybody's on the same page and we all hold hands and sing Kumbaya in the year 2020, folks. This highly political year is giving us an opportunity to address ideas. And what ideas can be, what beliefs can be, are either helpful or detrimental. What we believe tends to affect what we're open or closed to. What ideas we're open or closed to affects our entire life. And so the importance of discernment is we do need to have healthy boundaries. It's so, so important through the rest of this year. Again, I don't encourage you to just get on social media and keep posting these public posts where you're just going to invite the criticism and the hecklers. And then we get into these ideological debates. Who cares? There's going to be people out there that are neo-Nazis. There's going to be people out there that are just like total barbarians. We don't have to live side by side with them. We're learning how we can function on the same planet, right? When we live on the same planet, we can have healthy boundaries, but when we live on the same planet, we're learning to respect one another. So we do need to address racism. We do need to address the oppression and the unfair disbalance of money, of resources, of power. And that invites us into taking a stand. That invites us to address what dynamics need to be corrected, what dynamics need to be addressed. And that leads us into a constructive direction. These are the dynamics that we can fix, and these are the people that we can bring in. These are the resources that we can bring in. We can start this movement. We can start this humanitarian pioneering agenda, which is not the same as blaming people or attacking people or slandering people or generating witch hunts or slandering. And that's not easy to do. when we're looking at neo-Nazis and we're looking at racists. Trust me, it's hard when we're surrounded by people that are manipulating and abusing and pretending that they're all Messiah-like. And that's actually a great way to discern if someone's a healthy spiritual teacher, astrologer. The more Messiah-like they are, the more that they're on a mission to save the world, I would take that as a red flag. Where's the humility? Where's the humanity? Where's the reality? The real humility and humanity is in this constructive, well, you know what, there's going to be shitty people and there's going to be shitty situations out there, but we can create something better. And we can create something that we can share and benefit of others. That's how we fight the bad guys. Not by slinging mud, not by going on these ridiculous crusades, because then we get that old maxim, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So I am wishing you the best in this inner, tremendous reset. We're going into an eclipse season 2 weeks from now. This is always a period of time where everything changes around. It feels like going through a wormhole. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We get to use this shifting opportunity to reprioritize our life, to find what really matters, what fills us up and what gives us the greatest sense of meaning, which can really be taking us forward in a tremendous way. We can be living so much more aligned with this reality of love, this reality of making our dreams a reality. But it's not through this naive daydreaming, not with Mars in Pisces. It's by acting, it's by making it a reality, it's by bridging the unseen dimension with this world. And we can do it. So, I'm excited to see what's going to continue to unfold, even though, again, this is a bit of a challenging year, and we still have trials, we still have some rites of passage ahead of us. That being said, part of my own work and agenda is I create a platform for you to share and connect with other like minds, other people who speak the language of astrology, other people who are aligned with their own healing journey. Because I don't just talk about astrology to talk about astrology, to be a part of the club or the fashion trend, which is a big part of pop astrology, just a fashion club, just a trend. To me, astrology is really about healing. And I am devoted to working with people in their darkness, in their crisis, in their wounds, in their pain. When we bring the objective light of astrology, that's where this becomes a tremendously beneficial, medicinal, healing science. And so it's a true honor to be able to speak, share, and connect with like minds. I provide some additional opportunities through my Patreon community. You can pay $2, $6, or $12 a month, and you get different features. $12 a month, you get to join our monthly Q&A. And I'm really excited to push this Q&A. I forgot to advertise this in the last video, because if you know me, I'm really terrible at advertising. Every month I do a Q&A that goes for several hours, and I kind of rapid fire go down a list of people and do mini birth chart readings as a group. And it's an excellent way to learn astrology because you hear from people, you hear about where they are in their life, we see it reflected in their chart, and then we give a demonstration of how to provide a mini chart reading to help that person. So it's a great way to reverse engineer astrology. You get to learn about the techniques through many, many different case studies and examples. And it's also a way to get a little mini reading as well as to share what we're going through in our life and to connect with a supportive group of people. This Patreon community is growing. I'm really happy to have this group of really amazing people. And people seem to be coming together more and more, talking more and more. In this Gemini season, I started a channel in our online chat room where people can practice their own chart interpretation. So people are sharing their charts, interpreting their charts, sharing what's going on in their lives, their feelings, their struggles. It's honestly been really uplifting and inspirational to myself as I'm going through this pretty damn isolating rite of passage myself. So again, thank you so much. Those folks that are out there on similar wavelengths, those like minds, it is an honor again to be able to speak and share some of this material. I'm wishing absolutely all the best to yourself as you're discovering what exciting things you can share. And as I've been saying, really give that excitement to your inner child. Whatever that inner child wants to bring into school for show and tell, you've got something to share. You've got the time to discover it while the world's going through this tremendous reshifting. So again, all the best to you. Please do take care.